Hi everyone, how are you? David here. Hope you're all doing well this week. This is You First Weekly number 29, and this week I'm talking to Peter in our gang all about the idea of proactive journaling. Now we did a video on the power of journaling, myself and Ian, back in February, and since then it has come up a couple of times on Press Pause, including when Peter has spoken about his own kind of take and twist on the practice. So I wanted to ask him about it. So what does he mean by proactive journaling, and how does it actually work for him, on a day-to-day basis? And over the course of our chat, he really talks about it helping him in two key ways. So firstly, to set himself up in the morning, and then as a process that helps him reset and renew during the day. So whenever he might feel that he's going off course, or that the intention he set for himself in the morning is maybe not panning out the way he would like, he then simply picks up the journal and goes back and checks it out. As well as that, then Peter also talks about a couple of other things that I found really interesting. So the importance of the physical act of writing stuff down and the importance of that for him. The idea of visualizing a perfect moment, and particularly if we're doing something during the day that we're maybe a bit nervous or apprehensive about. And thirdly, how journaling has helped him and has maybe made him that little bit more conscious, even still, about the importance of the beliefs we hold and the language that we use, with and for ourselves. So I hope you enjoy the video this week. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you next week. See you. Bye-bye. Yeah, thanks for joining me this week. I wanted to ask you about proactive journaling, because we have put some stuff out on this over the last couple of weeks, which people have really enjoyed. And I know you have been doing a version of this yourself. So really, I just wanted to ask you about this kind of nuance or little additional way for people to look at journaling, to find out, how do you do it, or what is it really about, and how is it benefiting you, and how, hopefully from that people might be able to, just take from it what they will in terms of applying it to their own practice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is proactive journaling, huh? So I'm just piggybacking on other people's shoulders, really, David. So the two sources for me of this, which I've really been experimenting with in the last month, just over a month now, I've done journaling in different ways for years. But when I reflected on it, I tended to do it. I was more likely to do it if things weren't going well, and I would just journal down some reflections on that. But I had a recent conversation with Ian Kingston, and one of the things I picked up was that Ian typically writes down something around intention setting in the morning for that day. And I thought, right, that's a different twist now, and that's worth a go. And the thing that strengthened my inclination to do that was I'd listened to a podcast on mental toughness where Tim Ferriss interviewed a guy called Jim Lohr. And he talked about what he called the inner scorecard. And he talked about working with elite athletes, people at the forefront of whatever field of endeavor they were in. And he got them to write. And there is something about the process of physically writing. Actually write down how you want to show up. So I said, right, it's coming from these two places. So I just started doing what I call proactive journaling. So I have my journal book here, typically beside me on the desk. And it's very short. And I typically start the day by just writing down something that I'm grateful for. And then the intentional piece is I always start by saying, today I intend to show up. And it's usually with some characteristics.
Yeah.
So if I have what might be a challenging or demanding day ahead, I might write things like, today I intend to show up with focus, presence, resourcefulness. And it might just be 3 characteristics. Some days it could be a little more, but I tend to go for 3. And that's something I also picked up from Paul Gleason in his compass setting sessions. He'll typically ask 3 factors or characteristics you'd like to bring to how you show up today. The other thing that I found with it, David, is that doing that in the morning, I found since I started doing it, sets me up well but it does not guarantee that it'll keep me on that track through the day. And there've been a couple of days in particular over the last few weeks where challenges have come up during the day and there's been a bit of frustration in me. And when that happens, and that's why I keep the book on my desk, if I find myself starting to struggle, I open today's page and I reread what I wrote.
Okay.
So it acts like a reset and renew for me.
Okay.
So they're the simple practices, David.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think you mentioned it before about, this idea of thinking about how you're going to feel at the end of, say, your day, or if you're facing into stuff. Is that right? Would that form part of your journaling?
It does, yeah. And I picked up an idea. I mean, like I'm like a magpie, David. I'm picking up ideas right, left, and centre. So another man, Willie Horton, a Dublin man that I've done some development work with, some of the other guys in the below the line business also know him. And Willie used to talk about envisaging a perfect moment or visualizing a perfect moment. So I had a new experience with a client last week where I was doing what in effect was a webinar type event. And the format of it was new to me. So that felt like a bit of a challenge. And there was a little bit of the butterflies dancing going on to the session. And I was conscious of that morning before I went on to it. So I remembered the idea of the perfect moment. So I visualized how I would feel coming off that session. And that was just another little thing. I suppose the way I look at these things, David, is, and it's for each of us to find the ones that work for us, but what are the small things that will just help us show up in a way where we're better connected with the best of ourselves, or we can bring more of the best of ourselves to whatever we're doing, as opposed to starting to get nervous and then becoming a victim of that. And in my case, bringing my attention to do that. And one word that I smile at sometimes is awfulizing.
Yeah.
So we can start getting caught in the nerves and awfulizing. This type of reset and renew, or visualizing an end point and how I'll feel, I find is a healthy antidote to awfulizing and getting caught up in nervousness. Does it mean I never get nervous? No. But these are things I do to help myself handle the times when I do get nervous.
Yeah. So there's I guess there's an element as well of intentionality about this. So we talk about proactivity, but there's intentionality as well into almost, how would I describe it? There's a programming, if you like, going on at the self in the morning,
Yeah. I mean, there's a saying, I think we joked about this the last time we spoke on this, David, that I could be saying to you today, I got up out of the wrong side of the bed this morning. And there's a piece of intentionality or scene setting wired into me that I've in effect cultivated a belief that the rest of the day will go badly. Why? Because something happened at the start of the day. It's a figure of speech, but it's also a really unhelpful belief. So I'm actually aiming to do, if that works so well, and as somebody can say at the end of the day, yeah, I knew it was going to be like that, I got out of the wrong side of the bed. Well, what about jotting something down that might be the equivalent to getting out of the right side of the bed and being set up for the day? So they're all simple practices. I suppose the way I look at them, David, is I'm looking for simple ways that increase the chances that I would show up better. I'll bring more of whatever the best of me is, and the outcome will be better than if I just kind of loll up there and I don't set an intention. Because literally, as I said earlier, my phrase is, today I intend to show up with. So the intention is actually wired into the writing of the phrase. And like I say, it might just be 3 characteristics.
Okay. Yeah. So then, to summarize the process, is that the first question, or is there a gratitude question you ask?
Yeah, I usually start with something I'm grateful for.
Okay.
So, and that might be something that happened the previous day. It might even be something from that morning. That could be, for example, one morning I was out on a cycle and it was a glorious sunny morning. And I was just grateful that I was fit to get out, go to have that cycle, start my day in that way. Something as simple as that. So yes, I usually start off, today I am grateful for, put it down. It might be something from the previous evening. It might be a conversation that I had with a friend or a colleague or a client the previous day that really was energizing. That type of stuff. And it's brief. And then I've today I intend to show up with. And just going back to the clarifying, I remember when I spoke to Ian about it. Ian talked about writing down, and he talked about taking 5 or 6 minutes. So this isn't writing down copious notes, but it's just a small thing to set your, or get your intention clarified.
Yeah. And then as well, the idea of the reset and renewal is I can just go back to that short little piece during the day just to remind myself what was my intention.
Yeah, because last week there was a couple of things I was involved in and I found them a bit challenging.
Yeah.
And then the danger is that I start slipping into an unhelpful narrative. It might be an inner critic, it might be a lack of belief, or frustration builds. And literally a couple of times when those things were happening, I'd literally open up my book, just open up what I wrote down that morning, remind myself of that, tune into that, and then put the book aside and get on with doing my stuff.
Fantastic. Great. Fantastic. Loads in there for people to dig into. And as I said, maybe they're doing this stuff already. Maybe they're journaling, or maybe this just offers a new twist on something they've been doing for a while to keep it fresh and different and interesting for them. So thanks very much. That's great.
I just give you, on your question, David, I give you one other thing. If I take the example I gave you earlier of one day last week where I thought there's a couple of things that are going to stretch me today.
Yeah.
So today I intend to show up with focus, presence, and resourcefulness. When I reread that, the very act of that is being resourceful.
Yeah.
Then I can go back. It's easier to be focused.
Yeah.
And likewise be present, as opposed to starting to get caught up in an unhelpful narrative. So it's a simple example where reminding myself of the 3 words is the reset. It then renews me in that track. And I aim to do the same thing the following day.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Thanks, Pete. There's loads in there. Fair play to you.
All right.